video as a list. I reckon you've written a to-do list recently. Like it or not, our lives are partly ruled by lists, and we have two options. We can either suck at managing lists, or we can get good at it and make the lists serve us rather than us serving the lists. So I'm here today to show you how to get good at it. Hi everyone, welcome back to Trees and Turtles. I'm Imogen. In this video I'm showing you how to use lists effectively. If you're not already subscribed, be sure to do that, and let's get into the video. Okay, so make them specific and detailed. You need numbers, timelines, manageable steps. If you don't have specific goals, they aren't much use. So let's take an example. Okay, you have a goal to drink more water. If you write on your list drink more water, that's kind of useless because you haven't specified a time frame. When are you doing this? Are you doing it tomorrow? Is your goal to drink more water by next week, next month, next year? Is it to drink more water by the time you die? Okay, you get the point. How much water? How much is more? How much are you currently drinking? How's it going to work? So for me, for example, I have a bottle that's like 750 millilitres, and I make it an option to like fill it up twice during the day, so I get 1.5 litres. So it needs to be things like that. You need to have specific ways that you can put it into action in your real world environment, and you need to have specific goals and timelines. For me, for example, I have a tracker where I track how much I've drunk every day, and I drunk as in water. I know what you're thinking. Anyway, that's point one. Make them in advance to stay consistent with them. So I used to have so many lists in so many different places for different purposes. Some had tasks that overlap with other lists. I didn't have any comprehensive lists or much of an organisation system. Honestly, it sucked. I was useless. I was disorganised. I would come back to a list and I was like, have I done that? And I'd look at the other list and I'd be like, oh yeah, I did. I think I did. Because one list says I have and the other one says I haven't. Now I don't know who to believe. So yeah, that was not great. So when I discovered that I could keep them all in one place, that was much better. So keep them all in one place. Pick a list system and stick with it. I use Google Drive. I have a hierarchy of folders and documents in Google Drive. But I used to use a combination of Google Drive, my Notes app, Notability, actual paper lists. Anyway, it was a nightmare. So I got stuff done, but I missed things. I messed stuff up, and it was just harder to keep track of. So pick one place, you keep all your to-do lists and stick with it. Be consistent, okay? So in my Google Drive, I have a 5-year plan. Inside that 5-year plan, I have a folder for each year. Inside that, each year, I have a folder for each month. And inside each month, I have a folder, well no actually, Google Documents, one for each week. So I have Google Documents every week for the next 5 years, and in each of those Google Documents is my to-do list every week for the next 5 years. Some of them are not filled in yet, a lot of them are not filled in yet, but they are all there and I know exactly where to find them. If you wanted me to find the to-do list that encompasses the 24th of November 2025, I could find it for you. And it gives me a certain sense of security to know that if I need to plan something way in advance, I have some place to put that, and I'm not going to forget the task. So, have a list hierarchy. This kind of goes back to what I was just saying. You can't have a bunch of lists stuffed in one folder. It's a nightmare. Like, I know there's a search function, right? The search function has improved the situation, but it's not a substitute for having lists correctly organised. And this will help you with your offline life as well. Because if you still have folders and stuff, that's not got a search function. You've got to organise it, okay? Capture tasks from your emails. This helps with managing inbox zero, okay? So, I don't know if inbox zero is a goal for you. It certainly is a goal for me, and it's one that I achieve on a semi-regular basis. So, I'm quite ruthless with reading and deleting. Don't just read your emails. Whenever you pick up your emails, whenever you open your inbox, you should be aiming to take action and to clear the inbox. Just checking gets you nowhere, right? So capture tasks from your emails. A lot of the time emails stay in there in the inbox because they represent to-do list items. So you get an email, you think, oh, I've got to do that, I'm going to leave it in my inbox to remind me, rather than taking the task and moving it onto your to-do list where you will be reminded when you read your to-do list. So archive the email. Once you've transferred the details to your list, you can always find emails again in the folder that you've stored them in, which I'm sure will be very well organised after watching this video, or with the search function if that's your cup of tea. Okay, so brainstorm, dream, write, then categorise. There is a more useful way to create lists. Start with a massive brainstorm, okay? Nothing matters at this stage, it's going to be a big mess. And it doesn't matter what ideas you have at this point. It doesn't matter how random or huge or unachievable they seem. It's okay, right? Just dump it all on the page, as it were, or on the screen. So then sort them out, okay? Sort them into categories, tidy them up, and consider making a timeline. So I have 3 categories personally. I have academic goals, I have career goals, actually 4. Academic, career, personal development, and then fun or miscellaneous, which is where all the other stuff goes. So yeah, then consider making a timeline. I have timelines for each of those lists as to when I want to get the tasks done. Have different lists for different things. So I have a folder for uni stuff, I have a folder for my 5-year plan, I have a folder for content creation, this goes in a folder. Anyway, the point is, I have a bunch of other ones. Within those, I have more folders and lists for different things. Keep big projects separate. You don't want your uni stuff getting mixed up with your YouTube, because that's just a recipe for disaster, and you're going to end up submitting an advice video on productivity as a scientific summative, which is not ideal. Anyway, not speaking from experience or anything. Keep big projects separate, and keep your tasks for each well organised on separate lists. Learn when to combine tasks on lists. For example, when you're creating a weekly to-do list with several sections, even then, keep your sections separate so you know what's what. And when to keep them separate entirely, such as when creating an overview of one project. I mean, look at it this way, you've got a 5-year plan to buy a house. Are you going to put stuff for your degree in there? I don't think so, it's not relevant, right? Keep it separate. Okay, organise within your lists as well as between them. I've just referred to this a little bit, but I like to have a summary at the top of each list. So it'll have like section lists, section titles. Sometimes I will have subheadings in the list for different sections or similar tasks, or tasks which need to be done together. Like if there's a task that depends immediately on another task, then I'll list those 2 together so I know that they have to be done in parallel or one after the other. Don't dump all your tasks for one list together without thinking about the order of them, because you're going to forget stuff. Some will be more important than others. You'll forget important stuff. You'll waste time on less important stuff when you should be doing more important stuff. You get the idea. Anyway, learn how to manage goals across several lists, or try using summary spreadsheets for everything, also across time. So sometimes you'll have a task that belongs on several lists. For example, my film 10 videos this weekend belongs on my YouTube to-do list, my weekly to-do list, and my monthly overview. So that's in like 3 places, right? Don't forget to update tasks across all your lists. So when I cross something off one list, I've got to cross it off the other 2. Or you risk one list becoming out of date. So that wouldn't be great, right? Because then you're back to the point of looking at one list and you're like, did I do that task or didn't I? And then you have to check, and that takes up time and it's tedious, so don't be that person. Don't be afraid to coordinate across several lists, because this gives your plans cohesion, but do make sure that you coordinate. Okay, final tip. Remove old and irrelevant tasks, and don't dwell on them unless you're willing to transform them into new and relevant tasks. Okay, so if you've finished tasks, transfer them to a completed list. If you want a record of them, I have a done list, so I can see all the progress I've made and feel proud of myself, because that motivates me. Or if you don't want a record of them, just delete them off your list. Or if you've got like a super memory, then you'll remember what you've done. Anyway, if your plans have changed, remove irrelevant tasks. If you've decided that you're not working on a goal anymore, get rid of it, okay? There's no point reminding yourself and feeling guilty all the time. Just make sure they don't get in your way and confuse you. Again, be sure to remove them across all lists. Okay, so that's all for today. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, like it and hit the subscribe button. I upload new productivity content every Monday. I will see you next week. Okay, bye!